guys, what's going on? We're gonna go right into specialization with this setup here. Technician specialization is what we'll be using for this setup here. This is gonna be running the Heartbreaker gear set. Now, biggest reason for this setup here is going to be for the link laser pointer. You want to make sure you got the link laser pointer so you're able to pulse, because this is going to synergize with the Heartbreaker gear set itself. Make sure you also have your passive talents unlocked for your ARs and your shotguns as well. So ARs here, shotguns here. That way you get 15% increased damage on both of those weapon systems. And it's gonna help too with running technician, because whenever you're dealing with like let's say Black Tusk, this gives you additional 12% damage to drones, skill proxies, and robotics, especially those dogs. Those dogs are extremely annoying. But this is the main reason why we're going to run this setup first, okay? So we're going to head down in the range and do some demonstrations as well as go over the build setup itself. Alright guys, we're at the gun range. So this setup is primarily focused on the newer agents that just got into the game or returning players. Veterans, you already know what's up. You already know what's up with this setup. So covering Heartbreaker setup first, here is the gear set itself. So when you got the two-piece, you get 15% assault rifle damage, which goes hand in hand if you're running any assault rifles. LMG damage if you run any LMG. 15% weapons handling. Weapons handling did get a buff, at least the mods have, in correlation with the gear sets as well. So taking full advantage of that. That goes into stability as well as accuracy and weapon swap and reload speed. So it covers a number of things. Now the heart stopper gear itself, or the talent right here, or perk. Headshots apply pulse. We don't need to worry about headshots because we're going to be running the link laser pointer on this AR. And then when weapon hits on pulse enemies, you're going to get plus 1% bonus armor and plus 1.1% weapons damage to pulse enemies. This gives you a stack of up to 50. So that's 50% weapons damage. Okay, and then the stacks are lost each second. So this is the gear set that we're going to be running. So here's the mask here, armor core, crit hit chance, crit hit damage. The chest piece itself here, armor core, crit hit chance, well, double crit hit chance. And then we're going to be running that talent there, max BPM. That's going to bump up the stacks from 50% to 100 stacks. So now we're going to get 100% weapons damage as long as you land your shots and proc your bonus armor with that setup there. Holster, we're gonna run armor core, and that's crit hit chance, and then the knees, that is a red core with critical hit damage. And then we're gonna be running the overdogs here. The overdogs are the exotic gloves. This will give you that 30% amplified weapons damage. Based off of the lowest ranking enemy currently within combat. And that's going to be based off of your tiers. You see your tiers there. So the lowest rank up to tier 1. You have to keep that in mind whenever you're running these overdogs. So pick your targets wisely when you're picking them off to get that amplified weapons damage. These are very good for this build setup because you'll pump out a lot of DPS. And then we're going to be running the Bellstone backpack. You can run you can run any backpack that you want, as long as you have vigilance on there. So vigilance is the perk here, or the talent that's going to give you weapons damage by 25%. But if you take damage, you're going to disable the buff for 4 seconds. So that's the only disadvantage, is you got to make sure you don't take damage. So that's why we're rocking a shield, a Crusader shield. Now you already see there, armor core, crit hit damage, and crit hit chance, and I have armor regen, as well as for the Bellstone, you get 1% armor regen. So we're running 1.5% armor regen. That comes in clutch. It definitely helps in combination with rocking the Stackbroker with Preservation. So this is the whole entire armor set here. Weapons, we are running the Lexington here. Everyone, hopefully you guys got this gun. I hope you got this rifle. That's the setup you want there for the core attributes and main attributes. It should automatically drop for you with those attributes if you got this gun already. And then we put the perk flatline on here. You're going to get 15% on pulsed enemies. So that synergizes with the Heartbreaker setup. And then we are running the Stackbroker. Stackbroker got that with damage to target out of cover and damage to armor. And then talent, we got Preservation, mainly for when you're killing an enemy. It's going to help give you 10% armor repairs over 5 seconds. And then any headshots, they'll give you an additional 10% bump up. You can really put whatever talent you want on here. I just prefer this just as a little bit of a more of a buffer to get armor back on top of it synergizing with the Bellstone with that 1.5% armor regen. So that's the main reason for that. But you can run however you want it. Just this is the main premises here with this focus setup. Excluding you can swap out a backpack for whatever other backpack that you want. So that's the only thing. Skills, we're gonna be running the High Reviver and then the Crusader Shield. Now the Crusader Shield, this remember it's gonna help shield you when you got it up, so you can take on incoming damage, or you shield yourself from incoming damage. That way you can continue to proc that vigilance to give you that 25% weapons damage. Because if you get hit, remember it gets taken away for 4 seconds. So that's why that Crusader Shield is pretty important. Other than that, I mean, if you don't want to run a Reviver Hive just to stay safe, you can run Banshee too. I'm sorry, not Banshee. No, you would you would want to run it. But for Technician, you can run like a drone. You can run a Striker drone. There we go. I'm thinking Gunner. So don't listen to me. And then Pistol, run a Quick Step because of that sweet sports mode. That 20% movement speed is just money. So we like that there. Okay, so this is the whole setup here. Now I'll cover stats and then we'll go over like weapon setups here. So stats with the weapons here, we're at 102k, 50% critical hit chance, 100 critical hit damage. If you set up those mods that I put on there or the gear set itself, that's what you're gonna get. 75% headshot damage as well, and then 65% overall damage, 45% assault rifle damage, and then for that shotgun we're only going to get 15%, but that's okay, it's all good. Now here we're close to 1.5 mil. Now remember with that 1.5 mil, of course you got to remember with this gear set, like for my Bellstone I already have it at expertise 15%, so that's an additional 15% armor, as well as the shade level 2. You got to keep in mind with the shade level itself, because that's going to also give you defensive capability as well as offensive capability. So if you're over 1,000 shade, you should be good to go. You'll be getting like 10% on certain stats, 20% on other stats within the shade, within the Keener's watch. So just keep that in mind. We're running that. And yeah, man, this is the whole build breakdown. Right now, I do not have any modifiers on. There are no modifiers. Okay. Now, another setup too, you can run with this because it's the Heartbreaker setup. You can utilize the Kingbreaker. So this is the Kingbreaker here. That's the named assault rifle. And I already have this expertise level 25. You see damage to cover out of target, or damage to target out of cover, and then that is running flatline, perfect flatline. So that's 20% weapons damage. Regular flatline on a Lexington is just 15, so it's only 15% bump up in damage. But this thing shoots slower, but in it shooting slower, it hits harder. Okay, so Lexington is just money because it can send rounds down range fairly fast. The more ammo you send down range, the more DPS you're putting on target. So that's that setup. But this thing is also a beast too when you use it. I'll showcase that. All right, guys, we are at the range, so we're gonna get this set up just right. Now, for the Heartbreaker setup itself, you have to run this similar to the Striker gear set with getting stacks. So we're trying to get our stacks up. That's gonna give us bonus armor versus Striker. Striker doesn't give you any bonus armor. You just get the increase in or amplification in weapons damage. Same thing applies with the Heartbreaker, but you're getting bonus armor. Now, remember with this setup, because we were running Technician, make sure you remember to attach the linked laser pointer on there. If you don't attach that, you won't be able to pulse them by simply aiming at them. In that case, that's where you're going to have to get a headshot. You will need a headshot in order to pulse them. So that's the other thing. Same thing applies with the Lexington or the Kingbreaker if we're running those things there. Okay, so that's how that works. So mainly for my newer agents, veterans, you guys know what's up. We got a lot of new people coming into this game. So pulse them, that's how you see that pulse, and then we're gonna unload and get those stacks up. Then you switch over to your Lexington, and then now you're getting that increase in weapons damage. You can see here, I'm already getting a mil. Now if I go headshots, with the overdogs, now we're sitting at 1.4 mil. So this is how you normally would run this. You get those stacks up real quick, whether you're using a shield, and then you switch over and you unload on that target. It's normally how it works to get the heart stopper going. So that's how that whole setup works when we're doing this. Okay. Now, when you're doing this, as I was saying before, remember we're doing this without any modifiers on. Okay, so I'll give you an example with, let's switch over to the Kingbreaker. Switch over to the Kingbreaker, do the same thing, get your stacks up, right? Now the Kingbreaker, you're already sitting at 1.3 mil. Headshots, we're gonna get up to 1.9 mil. Okay, so that's just the Kimber. Remember, it shoots slower, but it hits harder. So that's the setup. And remember, this is with the modifiers off. So when you put them on, it's gonna just amplify the weapon's damage because of the modifiers perks that you beef up and unlock that full weapons potential from not having any companions around you. So that's what we're gonna end up doing here. So I'll backtrack real quick. Let's turn this on just to showcase it for our newer agents here. And then you're gonna see, go back to the Lexington here, and I'll do the Kingbreaker. We're getting an increase in damage. So let's get the stacks up real quick. Oh wait, I'm running out of ammo, man. Let me get some more ammo. Alright, there we go. Alright, get the stacks up. Lexington, chest shots. Now you see the increase, we're at 1.2, where before it was only at a mil. 1.2 mil. Headshots, it'll go up to 1.6, 1.7. Yeah, so 1.6 mil. So that's a huge jump, okay? Now, I'll switch this out to the Kingbreaker. There we go. Just go with it. We're sitting at now chest shots 1.5. 1.5 mil there. Headshots. Headshots is at 2.2 mil. So it's a huge jump up in damage. So that's the difference there when you know between running it without modifiers and then running it with modifiers. So I'm just showcasing you without the modifiers, you can still run this setup and you'll still just slap and wreck heroic stuff. Especially if you're just now starting to get into, heroic um the heroic difficulty setting itself. So that's just showcasing how this works. All right. So we'll apply it in some combat play. So I'll showcase that to you guys in a little bit.
You will suffer. Time for
right, guys, that's the setup right there. That's just the first portion of the control point here, and you can see again, no modifiers on, and this build will go a long way between seasons with different types of modifiers that's going to get updated as the seasons progress. So you can constantly run this same setup and just wreak havoc. So definitely give it a try. Let me know what you guys think of the gear itself within the comments. What's your loadout? What you run? What's your favorite gun to utilize? Remember, I would just use it in Lexington. Like I'll probably get way more damage with the Kingbreaker, but again, it shoots much slower, and this is way more stable and it just shoots so much more quicker. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys think. Give a like and a follow if you like it, and yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one.